Hello everyone. In this video, we'll try to finish up the central nervous system. It took some, I know it took some more number of videos, but anyway, to keep it clear for you, we are going through all those videos. So today we'll try to finish this central nervous system brain part completely by discussing the ventricular system and the CSF flow. So actually in the books for the NEET, what they say is they just give the parts. They just give the parts and they just say that we have these parts in the brain and all those things. But what I'll do is I'll try to explain everything in clear that you'll remember those things properly. So I'm not saying that every single part of this video is important for NEET, but every single part of this video is important for you to understand easily and remember the points of this ventricular system. Okay. So first point you remembered, the cerebrospinal fluid flows inside the CNS and around the CNS. So very important things to be remembered. The CSF flow is not only outside in the subarachnoid space, but it also inside the, so internally of CSF we have the flow of internally the flow of CSF in the CNS, the central nervous system. So I should say internally flow of CSF, right? So anyway, good. So a bit of grammatical problems anyway. So internally the flow of CSF in CNS, I'm sorry, and the flow of CSF around the CNS. Flow around the CNS. Now you people know around the CNS. Generally people say on the subarachnoid space and all those things. But today we will discuss mainly this one, the internal parts of the internal cavities of the CNS and how the CSF will flow. But before discussing the flow of CSF, we should know the parts of CNS where the CSF flows. Okay. So as we are discussing brain, we will target the brain part. So in the brain, inside the brain, we have some cavities. So we have some cavities through which CSF flows. Inside, I am saying inside. Okay. Cavities through which the CSF flows, and those cavities are called as ventricles. Okay. So we call those cavities as ventricles. Now these ventricles are just a space inside this brain which will take the CSF and give it to all the parts of the central nervous system. It is the place where it is produced. We'll discuss where it is produced also, the CSF, but we should know it. Okay. So one by one we'll start. What are the ventricular systems present? So to clearly understand the ventricles present here, we have to understand, or we have to observe the brain from the dorsal view. So we are observing the CNS from the dorsal view. I'm just giving you a normal graphical picture so that we understand it properly. So assume that these two are the cerebral hemispheres, I can say. So not the spinal cord. So those two are the cerebral hemispheres, the left and right cerebral hemispheres, and we have the diencephalon part. So these are diencephalon. Okay. After diencephalon, we have the midbrain. Okay, where the brain stem starts, and from the midbrain we have the pons orally. In pons orally we have the medulla oblongata which joins to form the spinal cord. So these are normal, what I can say, normal graphical representation. So what I said, these are the cerebral hemispheres, the left and right cerebral hemispheres, and here we have the diencephalon, here we have the midbrain, here we have the pons orally, around which we can also observe the cerebellum, the cerebellar hemisphere. So we can have the cerebellum here, the cerebellar hemispheres. Okay. And we have the medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata continues as the spinal cord. Now where can we see these ventricles or the cavities? So first of all, we can see a pair of cavities in the cerebrum or cerebral hemisphere. So here we can observe a pair of cavities on the left and the right side of the brain or cerebrum, we can say. So these the lateral ventricles. We can call them as first ventricle and the second ventricle. So we can call them as lateral ventricles, the first and second ventricles, or we can also call them as telocele because they are present inside the telencephalon, the embryonic origin. If you remember, they can be also called as telocele. The reason, the cerebrum came from a neural tube part called as telencephalon. Anyway, now these two ventricles will open into the middle, will open into one more cavity present inside the diencephalon. Now this opening here, this opening, okay, this is called as foramen. Foramen means hole. Foramen of Monro. So this is the first entry level point. Okay. So now it opens into one more cavity called as, here we have one more cavity that is called as third ventricle. So this is the third ventricle, which can be also called as diocele because it is present in the diencephalon. It is also called as diocele. Now from the diocele there is a small duct coming down on the midbrain or through the midbrain part, small pipe. This is called as aqueduct. Aqueduct, or we can call it as aqueduct of Sylvius. Some people call it aqueduct of Sylvius or Iter, aqueduct of Iter. Okay, so this aqueduct is passing through the midbrain part, around the midbrain part, and it comes down into the pons orally and the medulla oblongata junction. It will open up, so it will be forming one more cavity at the junction of the pons orally and the medulla oblongata. I can say the upper part of the medulla oblongata and the lower part of the pons orally. And from the medulla oblongata, this will go down and form the central canal of the spinal cord. So this is the central canal of the spinal cord. So this central canal. Okay, and this is the fourth ventricle. Now here the point is, the CSF which is produced inside this ventricle should go into the surroundings, the outside layers. How? So in this fourth ventricle you can see two openings on the lateral sides. Two openings here. Those two openings are called as foramen of Laschka, and we have a central or a median opening which will go into the cerebellum. Okay, because cerebellums are present not on the sides, on the back side or the posterior side. Okay, so there is this foramen of Megendie, foramen of Megendie, which will carry the CSF into the cerebellar regions. Okay, so the issue is, how many ventricles are there? 4 ventricles. So we have ventricle number 1 here. So these lateral ventricles 1 and 2, which are present in the telocele, or they are called as telocele, they are present in cerebral hemispheres. Then both of them will open into the third ventricle through the foramen of Monro. And in the third ventricle we have the next pipe coming down, which is called as aqueduct of Sylvius or aqueduct of Iter, through which the CSF flows down. It flows down into the fourth ventricle, which is called as, also known as, we have other name for this one, which is also called as metacele. So this fourth ventricle can also be called as metacele. So we have what? We have telocele, we have diocele, and we have metacele. There is one more name called as paracele. Not that much important, so just remember the teloceles. Okay, so now the point is, first of all, where is the CSF produced and from where the CSF is spread outside. So these we are discussing, these is the internal side of the CNS. Internal, we have not drawn the meninges yet. I will discuss the meninges flow again, but we have not shown the meninges yet. First of all, we should know where this CSF is produced. So first thing you have to know, in the thalamus region. So here you can see there is some thalamus located. So these diencephalon, and we can see here we have the thalamus here. Okay, so we have the thalamus here, and we have the anterior choroid plexus. So here we can see on the dorsal side of thalamus, we can see this filament like structure. These are called as anterior choroid plexus. So we can see something called as anterior choroid plexus, which is formed on the roof, I can say, which is formed on the roof of the thalamus. The two thalamus, thalami, we have two thalami on both sides. Okay, the thalami, on the anterior portion of this thalami, we have this anterior choroid plexus, through which the CSF, that means the blood, you all know, this anterior choroid plexus is created by the arteries present in the pia mater. The arterial capillaries present in the pia mater, and they are lined by some special cells. You know this one also. They are lined by some special cells called as ependymal cells. So these one of the mesoglea, what do you call them? They are called as ependymal cells, which forms the blood-brain barrier. That means they are the ones which will bring the blood and take the blood and absorb from the blood the CSF. So ependymal cells will form the blood-brain barrier. So we have this blood-brain barrier, and from this anterior choroid plexus, what happens? The CSF is coming into the ventricles, the first ventricles. Okay, and then we have shown with the red color. It's okay. From there, the CSF comes down into the diocele, and from diocele through the aqueduct of Sylvius or Iter, we can say it comes down to the fourth ventricle. And here at the roof of medulla oblongata also, at this here, we also have one more posterior choroid plexus. So we can have this posterior choroid plexus. Remember main point, which layer or which meninges will form this choroid plexus means pia mater. So we have pia mater around this part, and from the pia mater we have the arterial system. The arterial system comes in and forms this choroid plexus, which are lined by this mesoglial cells called as ependymal cells. Okay, so again here also we have the production of the CSF. Okay, that means CSF is coming in, and the CSF will have all the glucose things, glucose, nutrients, everything. So the CSF can go down into the central canal of the spinal cord. Then they can also escape through this foramen of Laschka. They can also escape out through this foramen of Laschka into subarachnoid space. Around the pia mater we have the subarachnoid space. I will draw that also. And through this foramen of Magendie also they can come out. So why there is these three ways? So just think of it. This foramen of Laschka is for sending the CSF to the Pons batch or the Pons Oroli area. But this foramen of Magendie is to send the CSF to the cerebellar regions, these regions, because cerebellars are present on the back side. So if we are standing like this, okay, it is present on the back side. The cerebellum is present on the back side. Now to the back side, these can't go. They are present on the sides. So we are sending the CSF into the sides here. But to the back side, who will go? The Magendie. So foramen of Magendie will send the CSF into the subarachnoid space of the cerebellum. Okay, so that's the reason. So from the telocele, the CSF is generated from the anterior choroid plexus, and here we have the posterior choroid plexus. So this is at the roof of the, we can say, medulla oblongata, or the floor of the pons orally, we can say. We have this posterior choroid plexus, and from the posterior choroid plexus, what happens? Again, CSF is generated, and that generated or produced CSF will go into the subarachnoid spaces around the meninges. So here these are the four ventricles. What are the four ventricles? Two in the upper part. So if I say two in the head region, the upper part, the cerebral hemispheres. Now it comes down to the diencephalon region, which is connected by the foramen of Monro. From both sides we have that opening. So I can say, if I have draw perfectly, I can draw like this also. Say that there are these openings which will open into this, okay, the diocele. Foramen of Monro opens into the diocele, and the diocele will come down through the midbrain as the aqueduct of Sylvius or aqueduct of Iter or cerebral duct of Iter. We have different names. Okay. Now from there the CSF will come down into the fourth ventricle, which is present at the junction of the pons varolii and the medulla oblongata. So at this junction we also have three holes. So we have three openings, two on the laterals which goes to the subarachnoid space of the pons varolii, and one on the back side, the median central hole, which will send the CSF to the cerebellar subarachnoid space. So these are internal cavities. Now from here, where the CSF goes, the CSF will go to the meninges. I will try to draw the meninges here. So these on the internal side, these are the four ventricles. Now what happens? Now the CSF comes out. CSF is pushed out of the ventricles into the meninges surrounding it. So what are the meninges surrounding it? Already we have discussed, we have pia mater, which is already forming this choroid plexus. So we have this pia mater in a close contact with the CNS. So there is no need of discussing this pia mater, because pia mater is already close contact, and that is the one which is forming this choroid plexus. So pia mater forms the choroid plexus. That's not the issue here. Now the issue is on this pia mater. On this pia mater, what do we have? We have the subarachnoid space. That is the main point we have to discuss. So pia mater is attached, obviously. It is closely attached to the brain parts. Okay. Now on that or above that, we have this arachnoid matter. That is important. We have this arachnoid matter. So I'm just drawing it rough way. So we have the arachnoid matter, which is present all around the pia mater, comes down to the spinal cord. That's okay. Now what happened here? The CSF through the foramen of Luschka and foramen of Megendijk came into the subarachnoid space. So they came into the subarachnoid space. Now here we have the cerebrospinal fluid. So on the back side I am not showing, I will just show it like this, arrow mark. So back side, from the foramen of Megendijk it goes back side to the cerebellar arachnoid space, subarachnoid space. So it will goes out into the subarachnoid space and it starts flowing. It starts flowing to the downward direction, that is to the spinal cord region, and it will also come up in the same direction. That's not an issue. So it will go to the downward direction through the central canal, okay, and come upwards in the same way also. So this is not down, I'm sorry, this can come upwards. Here also it can come upwards from the bottom of the central canal. Now this CSF will go upwards. This CSF will go upwards around the cerebrum. Now we get out, sir, these coming from the blood. So we have taken this from the blood because we have this choroid plexus. We have taken all the CSF from the blood. Now again, how does this CSF goes to blood? Now it is trapped in the subarachnoid space. Now how does this CSF again goes back into the blood? That's the main issue. Now on this arachnoid membrane, if you remember, we have this dura mater. So we have the next layer, which is called as dura mater, which is highly vascularized. So dura mater is also vascularized, but the issue to be discussed, dura mater is the venous system. So on the top of this dura mater, above the cerebral hemispheres, you can see that there is a small sinus. There is a small sinus which is formed by the combination of the veins. Okay, so this is called as sagittal, suprasagittal sinus. Not that much important for the NEET, but anyway we should know. Now this arachnoid space, what happens, this arachnoid membrane will drain into this, it will not go down. What it will do is, it will drain into this venous system. It will drain the CSF into the venous system. Now what happened, CSF which was produced from the choroid plexus of the pia mater is traveling down. It is giving all the required things to the brain and spinal cord. It is going back upwards through the subarachnoid space, and in the dural region, the venous system region, we have a sinus. What do you call the sinus? Not required for the neat name, but anyway, we will discuss that word. This is called as supra-sagittal because it is present on almost the sagittal section up to here, this part. So supra-sagittal sinus. So here what happens, we have all the venous system starting. So what happens, the arachnoid, subarachnoid space will form a plexus here. So I should draw like this. It will form a plexus. It will form a plexus, and through the plexus, the CSF will drain back into the venous system. So the point is, from the arterial system of the pia mater, the CSF is produced. Okay, it is traveling to all the systems of our CNS, that is spinal cord or the brain, through all the cavities. Then it is going back and is draining into the venous system. The same way in the other body parts also. So arteries will come, they will form the capillaries where they give all the substance required and they go back through veins. In the same here also, the anterior choroid plexus and posterior choroid plexus, the anterior and arterial systems is coming down and giving us the required fluids in the form of CSF. CSF again flows back through the help of this foramen of Laschka and foramen of Nagendijk, and all the fluid will go back through the subarachnoid space and they will all drain into the venous system, which is in the supra-sagittal sinus. And you all know veins will again go back to heart, and from heart they'll again come back to this choroid plexus. Okay, so these are the CSF flows. Okay, it starts in the teloceles and the metacele. They are produced there because of the help of this the anterior choroid plexus and the posterior choroid plexus. Then what we got the production here also at the posterior choroid plexus, and they are produced, they are sent into the subarachnoid space, and subarachnoid space will turn all over the remaining parts. Okay, it will give all the nutrients to the remaining parts. It will drain back to the venous system. So that's the main thing to be discussed here. So you don't think that the substance present in the subarachnoid space is helpful here to give nutrients. Already the nutrients has been taken and this is draining into the venous. So this all is already used up fluid. Already the used up fluid, the nutrients are being taken up. Okay. So if you observe in the side view, so if you observe the same diagram in side view, you want to see that. So if these are cerebrum, so we have this corpus callosum here. Okay, so we have this cavity, which one? The lateral ventricles, the first and second lateral ventricles, which are like a long part, because they have to supply this CSF to the all the lobes, the frontal, temporal, parietal and the occipital. So we have it there. Then what happens, there is an opening here. So if you see this particular thing, they'll open here. Okay, they'll open here into the metacele. So here we have the, not the metacele, I'm sorry, here we have the diocele in the diencephalon region. That is the second ventricle. So here the first, because we have cut it here, you can see the first and second here only. I am putting dots here. So you can see first and second ventricles here. Okay, and both of them are opening here into the third ventricle through this foramen of Monro on both sides. Okay, I should say on both sides. So this side also I will put a small dotted structure. Okay, foramen of Monro. They are opening and providing this particular CSF. Okay, so here we have this particular choroid plexus, the anterior choroid plexus here. We can have this near the thalamus region, epithalamus region. You can see we have this anterior choroid plexus, and here the CSF is generated, and it is going down all the way, coming down through the foramen of Monro into the third ventricle. Now from the third ventricle, what happens? There is a small duct coming down. So there is a small duct coming down, which is called as the aqueduct of Iter or aqueduct of Sylvius. So that will come down and they'll open into the fourth ventricle, which is near the pons orally, and again they'll go down to the central canal. So this is a corpus callosum region. We are looking at the sagittal view. This is sagittal view, this is the dorsal view. So we have corpus callosum here, and if you observe, this is the thalamic region, the thalamus. So here we have the thalamus, and the hypothalamus is present around this third ventricle, I should say. So we'll put dots here. So this is the hypothalamus region. So this third ventricle is into the hypothalamus. I should say the third ventricle is into the diencephalon, okay, or the hypothalamus. That's what is called as diocele. Okay. Now here we have this midbrain region. So midbrain, okay, and here we have the cerebellum on the back side. So what happens here? We have the, so I'll just put one more thing. So here we have the foramen of Lashka, and here we have the foramen of Magendie, the median foramen of Magendie. So the fluid to the foramen of Magendie will reach the cerebellum, and the fluid from the foramen of Lashka will reach the pons region around this. So we have a pons region around this. If I put the parts clearly, so here we have the cerebellum being joined there, and here we have the diencephalon coming down, forming the pons orally and the medulla oblongata, and we have the spinal cord. So if you see here on the lateral sides, the fluid is escaping to the subarachnoid space of the pons orally, and here the fluid escaping backside into the subarachnoid space of the cerebellum, and the upper regions are taken care by the first, second and third ventricle. So this is a sagittal view. So that is how the fluid will come down and go up. So basic point is the CSF is formed by the arterial system of the pia mater, and the fluid is taken by the subarachnoid space to the upper parts again and drained into the venous sinus, or we can say suprasagittal sinus, and the blood is drained back. I should not say blood, the CSF is drained back into the venous system where it goes back to the heart. So it's simple if you understand it, but it's hard if you don't understand it. I hope it is understandable. Okay, one more time I'll try to recapitulate this. So in the cerebral hemispheres, we have two lateral ventricles, also called as telocele, or sometimes it is called as paracele. Both of them open into the diocele, which is between the thalamus or between the hypothalamus or diencephalon region. We have this third ventricle between the diencephalon. So we have thalami here. On the top of thalami we have the anterior choroid plexus. So anterior choroid plexus along with the ependymal cells, they will form the CSF, and CSF comes down to third ventricle. From third ventricle, the CSF will come down into the fourth ventricle, and in the fourth ventricle there is present the junction of the pons orally and the medulla oblongata. We have two lateral things like hands which are giving it to the pons region. So pons region, and this on the back side, right? So on the back side median, so it is giving the fluid to the cerebellum, subarachnoid space of cerebellum. And what happens, the CSF which is remaining will go down to the spinal cord, and again it will come up. So this total CSF will travel again up for the drainage into the draining into the suprasagittal sinus. Now from here we have veins formation. So I'll just put it like this. So we have veins formation. Veins will go back to heart, and from heart we got arteries, and arteries will again come through the pia mater, if you remember, to the pia mater, and they'll form this. They'll form what? They'll form this choroid plexus, the anterior and the posterior choroid plexus. So it's a cycle. So it's a cycle of circulation. Okay, so veins will go back to heart, and from the heart the arteries will pump the blood back into the pia mater's arterial system. Arterial system will form the anterior choroid plexus, and the posterior choroid plexus will again give back the CSF. Simple thing. CSF is just a nutrient carrier, so nutrients should be used by it and the waste should go back to the heart. So that is what happening here. The same thing, same like other body parts, but here the fluid will stay for some longer time. And here the important thing is this drainage system should be perfect, because if this drainage system is affected, the pressure will increase more in this region, which is very problematic. Not with the choroid plexus, because we have pumping pressure always, but the drainage system should be correct. That means the heart or the circulatory system should take away the blood as soon as possible from the brain or from the central nervous system, so as to keep the flow normal. Okay, that's about the total anatomy, I should say, anatomy of the brain, including its ventricles. So up to NEET, yes, I have crossed some limits of explaining this flow and all those things, but up to NEET, what is important here is this choroid plexus formation, this foramen of Monro, foramen of Lushka, and foramen of Magendie, these ventricles, the paraseals, diocele, and the metacele. That is important, and the central canal of the spinal cord. But as I have said, if you don't know the cycle, you don't understand it. Mugging up is not helpful in NEET. So only if you understand, then it will be helpful. Okay. So thank you for watching. Have a happy day. Mohan Krishna signing off.